Welcome to the Land Fixer Live, folks. I'm dropping in today unannounced and unscheduled, but I would like to talk to you about some news. I haven't been in to talk about some land news for you in a little bit, so let's give it a go. I curated some beautiful articles for y'all, and I want to start with one I'm probably going to do a full episode on to really go more in depth on it. But every year, U-Haul comes out with its um, moving report, I guess. What do they call it? It outlines the growth of states. So what they do is they track how much of their rental units, inventories, everything are going from one state into other states. And I guess probably effectively just finding out where most of it gets returned. And with that, they're able to have a really good boots on the ground perspective of where people are moving. And every year they publish it. And they say, all right, this many people are moving here. This is the fastest growing area. Um, and I think this is very important for us as real estate investors, specifically land investors, to find out where people are headed. Obviously, you can get very granular in markets, but it's really good to kind of understand wider or broader trends. So let's get into it. So this was published, I guess, a couple weeks back. But this is talking about, yeah, so this came out on January 2nd. So it's talking about the growth of states of 2024. And guess what? We're going to cover the top five here. So the top five are number one, South Carolina, number two, Texas, number three, North Carolina, number four, Florida, and number five, Tennessee. If you're a land investor, it is very likely that these are areas that you either worked in or you know that a lot of land investors tend to work in. Um, and the reason for that is we always call it the Freedom Belt. These are areas that typically have very light restrictions. Obviously, there's growth, but people are attracted to freedom in our country. So I would definitely say that that's a huge role. There's also an abundance of land. There's usually um, lighter restrictions on development and things of that nature. Though everywhere, obviously, in every market, especially with some of the climate change stuff going on, those standards are increasing. But those are also areas I believe that have lower tax rates and things of that nature. So I'll go and do a deep dive on that. Um, but they also monitor the changes. So from where something was on a different, or from last year, what state was, ranked last year to where it is now. And some of those moved dramatically, and I wanted to highlight those. So Oklahoma moved up 30 points, or 30 spots on the list. And I mean, that's a pretty incredible move. I'll have to dig into that. I do read Oklahoma news from time to time. Obviously, it's kind of a sister state to us. So I'm really curious as to what made it jump that much over the course of 1 year. We also have a couple other big movers, which is Indiana and Maine. Indiana was up 19 spots and Maine was up 18 spots. And then some of these are surprising on the spots that decreased the most. So we had Colorado drop 31 spots. Um, and that coupled with Wyoming, that dropped 22 spots. I would highly suspect that we had some cost of living increases in those areas. The people that I've talked to that are living in Colorado or attempting to live in Colorado um, or in Wyoming are seeing huge costs in increases of living expenses. A bunch of people flooding into markets, big homes being built, kind of a boom bust sort of thing. So obviously, as areas get more expensive, fewer and fewer people can afford to move there, and then you fall. Um, we also have a couple ones that I would have not predicted, but I think there's probably some good reasons here. Nevada and New Mexico Nevada dropped 24 spots and New Mexico dropped 21 spots. And that was pretty shocking to me because those seemed like to me kind of relatively stable markets. But I think it might have to do with water. I've been talking a lot about water on my podcasts and on these news episodes that I've been doing. Water infrastructure is a big deal right now. We've run across it just in our little land business here in Texas, but you kind of see it everywhere. Droughts become a big issue in a lot of areas. What we're seeing is really inconsistent rainfalls. So I know it's not everywhere. I think California's been out of drought for a few years, so I know it's not, the same everywhere, but I know Texas, it hardly rains, it feels like, or if it does rain, it's a deluge and it floods you out. And that's causing us to really put a lot of time and energy into our infrastructure here to account for those, you know, higher fluctuations of rain. Um, a couple things to notice here. Our great state of Texas. People ask me where I like to operate. We like to operate in Texas and Tennessee. And Texas is been in the top one or two since 2016, either first or second since 2016. So that means we are at a solid 9 years of being top one or two state to move to. So that's incredible. So if you're thinking like, all right, I'm really focused on picking a specific area or market that I'm going to operate in over the next period of a year, 2 years, or maybe even my entire land business. Like I'm really focusing on the brand identity of my business and the core focus of where we're going to be operating. It's hard to go wrong in Texas. That's where people are moving. There's still so much growth there. Um, so yeah, that's a pretty big deal. South Carolina climbing spots. What I really like about this article is it just gives you that's it. It just gives you the rankings, and it does not try to interpret why. Um, so that's really cool. But we'll move on from that. Oh, actually, there's one other thing here. New York dropped to 47 on the list. And so it has its lowest growth ranking in over a decade. So yeah, let's climb down to the bottom of the list and actually see what's down there before we move on. Ooh, I guess some people might be able to guess. California came in dead last. Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Michigan. I'm curious if you laid these states out in a certain order, you might see some correlations here. But yeah, I think people are attracted to the Sun Belt or what I call the Freedom Belt for investing their money and raising their families, and that's really cool to see. All right, so we'll move on from that U-Haul article. That's definitely worth digging into a lot. Let's stay in Texas here for the next couple articles as well. This one's coming from the New York Post. The Texas metropolitan area was named the hottest spot for real estate investment in 2025. And they're talking about my home area here in Dallas, Fort Worth. This article says everything's bigger in Texas, and that includes the demand for Dallas Fort Worth real estate. This metroplex has just been crowned the nation's top spot for real estate investment development for 2025. And that's coming from the Fresh Report of Price House Water Coopers. And they are looking at the Urban Land Institute. Surge in population and a rock solid economy makes DFW the place to build and finance property. This metro has climbed from third place last year to grab the top rank, marking the sixth year in the top 10. So, very similar to what we were looking at the U-Haul data. DFW is definitely driving growth, which is really interesting. I've been reading a lot of articles this year that were talking about the fall of Austin, Texas, which had this really big boom about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago is when that really took off, I think. And then since then, and I think especially this year, it's kind of been dropping a little bit. So, we've done a couple subdivisions outside of DFW. That's where we'd really like to go. But a lot of folks are just, you know, that's their operation is, within an hour, hour and a half of DFW. And I think it's really hard to lose. Um, but we'll see. People are investing their money a lot of different ways into this economy. People are still building I mean, I guess if you go to downtown, there's still even a couple like downtown skyscrapers that are being built. But let's dig in a little further here. While housing prices in Dallas have surged by nearly 38% since early 2020, the metro remains relatively affordable compared to other major cities. Here's a big number. The median home price is 382,000. And that's not far from the national median, making it relatively appealing for investors and new residents alike. I'd be curious to know what the uh, like rate of rental homes to actually family-owned homes are, because there's so many rental homes. It's wild. Dallas continues to attract new businesses and residents while capitalizing on attractive economic climate. Um, yeah, big deal. What else we got here? North Texas also stands out for its impressive 5 and 10-year real estate returns, hitting nearly 8% annually. This is the best performing among Texas metro areas. So that's people investing into residential real estate. And despite the price surge, the region's cost of living remains below that of other US markets. So you can get a nice house and you can live here affordably. There's a lot of fun stuff to do. So, very, very interesting article. If you are again kind of sharpening your saw and you're looking to find out where should I be investing my time or energies and buying land, I would highly suggest focusing in Texas, maybe even around DFW, or maybe even a little broader. People call it the Golden Triangle. That's going to be Houston, Dallas, and I guess San Antonio or Austin. I forget which the bottom west corner is, but if you're doing pretty much anything in those areas, you're going to be just fine. Um, I didn't realize I picked like all Texas articles, so this is all Texas stuff pretty much. So I always kind of keep an eye out for like giant land acquisitions in states. And you're seeing a lot of them right now for um, you're seeing a lot of them right now that are for data centers, right? These big, huge developments that take up a ton of energy and a ton of space. I have another article that are talking about those, but there's huge land acquisitions going on for those sorts of things. And here's one that kind of stands out to me. This is coming from the biofueldigest.com. The USA the USA company Bioenergy acquires land in East Texas for its $2.8 billion SAF biorefinery. This is from January 14th by Megan Sapp. In Texas, USA Bioenergy announced that it has closed on the acquisition of 1,600 plus acres of land in East Texas for its new $2.8 billion advanced biorefinery designed to convert wood waste into sustainable net zero aviation fuel. That's crazy. I'd love to see how that happens. The landmark SAF facility already secured a 20-year offtake agreement with Southwest Airlines and is at the forefront of advancing ultra low carbon fuel, which is much needed in the future of aviation. USABE's planned $2.8 billion greenfield facility in Bon Weir, Texas. So that's where it is, Bon Weir, is currently in detailed design and engineering and aims to address airlines' growing demand for SAF by converting sustainably sourced forest thinnings into sustainable aviation fuel. USA Bioenergy signed a 20-year offtake agreement with Southwest Airlines. Do-do-do-do-do. Once blended with conventional jet fuel, the SAF could produce the equivalent of 2.59 billion gallons of net zero fuel and avoid 30 million metric tons of CO2 over the offtake agreement term. According to USABE calculations, this will enable approximately 112,000 short, less than 3 hours, or 7,000 long haul net zero airline flights per year. So that's really cool. Big land acquisition, the way real estate investors will often look at that is say, hey, I think I want to go buy some land near there. Big operations like this are probably going to have jobs that come with it. I should really do a detailed breakdown of like how a single business like this can cause so much economic growth. It's something like for every like job that's created, two or three other jobs are created in a town because you go there and you buy a house. Well, that increases the demand for everything in that area. And it's small for a single person, but if it's 1,000 people, all of a sudden you need more plumbers, electricians, bankers, yada 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 yada. You just need more people to provide services to the families. You need builders, everything increases. So even though it may have created a certain number of jobs in a factory, it's going to create so many more jobs and increase property values all around there. So this is something that people might want to watch closely. Von Weir, check it out. Moving on. This is coming from the Economic Times. Everybody's favorite person right now. This is Elon Musk. Coming from the Economic Times. Musk country. This. Hold on, I've turned off my ad blocker. God, these things are nuts. Um, all right. So Musk is buying over 4,400 acres of prime real estate worth $3.4 billion in Texas. He is trying to, like, I don't know, he's buying so much Texas land, it's pretty wild. So he transformed Texas into a hub for his groundbreaking ventures, acquiring over 4,400 acres of prime real estate worth 3.4 billion. This is spanning multiple operations. This is from his Tesla massive gigafactory near Austin to its SpaceX futuristic starbase in Boca Chica. Um, We'll get into some of this. In Travis County, near Austin, Musk's ventures include Texas Gigafactory, a massive facility pivotal to Tesla's operations. The surrounding land, totaling at least 2,500 acres, supports various industrial and residential projects. This is just another, development like we were talking about in the previous article. It's going to create a ton of jobs. At the southwestern tip of Texas in Boca Chica near Brownsville, Musk has developed Starbase, which is SpaceX's launch site. This area encompasses about 900 acres. Boring Company near Bastrop, east of Austin. Musk's Boring Company owns at least 440 acres. This area includes facilities for tunneling projects, employee housing, and so forth. So it just shows you how uh, this is actually kind of one of the reasons that New York is shrinking and states like Texas are growing is yes, it's a number of people moving in, but it's also a handful of people moving in and out. You take someone like Musk and you move him from one state to another, and the amount of money with him is incredible. And I think all of his businesses are now, or at least are in the process of being headquartered in Texas. And I think I've read other articles here. Maybe I can bring one up real quick. Um, Elon Musk and Bastrop, Texas. I believe he's trying to effectively buy all of Bastrop. Um, yeah, he's moving the X headquarters to Bastrop. That was a few months ago. I don't remember. I'll have to find it and bring it up again. But I believe that he's trying to buy like a ton of stuff in Bastrop and I actually have a couple properties there. So hopefully I can get those moved now that Elon Musk's going there. Okay, so that covers our Elon Musk news. I have one more article and then I'll scan through. I might have a couple other kind of highlights that I'll cover here. But moving on, we're talking about this is coming from the CRE Daily. Atlanta presses pause on data center growth. So, in the land market, a lot of people were really excited to hear about these data centers because it's going to be a bunch of, big projects, oftentimes in kind of more remote areas. Um, but here we're seeing some knockoff effects, which I don't think, I think everybody probably assumed was going to happen. But Atlanta's booming data center industry is facing pushback as the city grapples with housing shortages and land use conflicts. Growing pains, Atlanta is leading the nation in data center growth with power capacity surging 76% in the first half of 2024. By 2028, the city's data load is projected to hit 4,000 megawatts. That is nuts. 30 times its 2012 levels. According to Green Street, tech titans like Meta, Google, and Microsoft and X are flocking to Atlanta for its affordable power and attractive incentives. Um, Now, let me see. I actually want to go back to that U-Haul article and see where um, Georgia is here. All right, so Georgia's 15 and moved up 3 spots. So maybe this is playing a role there. Now it's talking about new property supply, and it's showing that like data centers are accounting for 45% of new property uses. Nationally, data centers thrived in 2024 as high interest rates dampened enthusiasm for other property types. Between 2023 and 2024, total data center inventory grew by an average of 43% annually, far outpacing the under 3% growth in multifamily hotels and self-storage properties. In September 2024, Atlanta City Council banned new data centers near transit hubs and the Beltline areas, critical to housing and retail development with a metro housing deficit of 100,000 units. Mayor Andre Dickens emphasized prioritizing urban projects that directly benefit residents. The economic debate. While data centers generate property tax revenue and reuse underutilized office spaces, critics point to their limited job creation. Georgia Power Project's demand from data centers and similar developments could hit 36,500 megawatts by the mid 2030s, far exceeding its current 21,500 megawatt capacity. This could displace industries with greater economic impact. So, this kind of brings us back to the power debate as well. These data centers demand so much power, there's stress in the grids um, and causing real problems. All right, the takeaway, the bigger picture. Data centers have revitalized vacant office spaces, but worsened Atlanta's housing shortage and strained resources. As AI drives rising computing needs, cities like Atlanta and Northern Virginia must find ways to balance tech driven growth with sustainable urban development. Wow. So, finally seeing some pushback to some of these data centers. I think we kind of assumed that was going to happen, but still really interesting. Um, Now we have one article here. Um, This is kind of older news, actually. Um, and I think I might have covered it a little bit before, but I wanted to continue to highlight the how these semiconductor campuses that are springing up, or the semiconductor campus in Phoenix springing up is causing a bunch of other growth around it. So this article is from 2024, but it says this comes from the multifamily dive. Nearly 9,000 units are planned near Taiwan's semiconductor campus in Phoenix. The 2,300 acre Halo Vista site will also include office, retail, and industrial development, estimated to be worth a total of $7 billion. So the New York City-based developer Mac Real Estate Group and Los Angeles based investor McCourt Partners have unveiled plans for a $7 billion, 28 million square foot mixed-use development expected to include up to 8,960 multifamily units in Phoenix's North Valley. Known as Halo Vista, according to the Phoenix Business Journal. And actually, let's pause and go to the U-Haul article and see where Arizona is. Arizona is at 8 on um, the U-Haul moving and storage resource guide, uh, up from, or excuse me, it's currently at 6, up from 8 last year. So we're seeing growth there, and I bet we see a even bigger growth next year and on until this is open in 2028. The Atlanta City Council has responded by banning new data centers in certain neighborhoods, like we were talking about in Georgia or Atlanta. Um, the Atlanta City Council has responded by banning new data centers in certain neighborhoods to prioritize urban development over computing facilities. Despite this, expansion is expected to continue outside city limits, with projections indicating significant growth in data center power load by 2028. This trend is mirrored international or nationally, with data centers experiencing a boom even as other real estate sectors lag. However, concerns over resource allocation and the long-term impact on housing and community vibrancy are promoting some areas to reevaluate their policies on data center development. These articles highlight some current, yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of the overall review there. Let's see if anything else stands out. Okay. All right. And then I think we had a couple other just kind of brief reads I'm going to do here. A planned ocean to intercoastal estate in Manalapan, Florida, has been listed for 285 million. So there's some big Florida real estate projects going on. The federal government downsizing can affect real estate. I've been looking to um, read more about this. Oftentimes, these articles that talk about federal government changes and shifts in real estate focus mostly on commercial buildings, office buildings, and things like that. But oftentimes, there is vacant land that isn't even mentioned in articles, but you can go find. I don't know if any of you have ever spent time looking at federal land auctions, state land auctions, repossessed land auctions, things like that. You can oftentimes find really cool deals there. And maybe that's something I'll do here again in the future. I've never actually really pulled the trigger on it. Maybe I need to find somebody who can kind of educate all of us about that. Um, okay. Well, I think that's good for today. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to the news here a little bit. I'm glad we could spend some time together. I'm going to try to do this every Friday. That's kind of my goal. Obviously, it can be a bit of a challenge because Fridays can be pretty busy for me and I have other obligations, but I really like doing these live. I really like bringing you all the news, and hopefully you guys find some enjoyment. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. If you haven't already, and you're looking to market some land, go to primelandexchange.com, list your land, hit that button in the upper right hand corner. 25 listings for 99 bucks a month. It is hard to beat that. You can treat my website like your home webpage. You don't even really need to have your own website if you have a service like mine. If you do need websites, we have website templates built on the Shopify platform. That is the best platform. Okay, I'm telling you, that is where you want your website. It has all the best e-commerce plugins. If you are all about targeting, marketing, data, that's where you want to go. You want to have your website on the Shopify store. I can help you with branding, all sorts of cool stuff there. If you need funding, go to landpartnerfunding.com. We have some really competitive rates. We love funding land deals, subdivides. We're trying to wrap up a bigger project right now, get some more funds to go after some more big projects. Um, and if you have not already, go to thelandfixer.com and check out my podcast, the Land Fixer Podcast. Subscribe, follow it on any of your favorite podcatchers, and you can hear my voice all the time, and you will love it. Thank you, folks. We'll talk soon.